All right. We've got a juicy little PU monthly report here for June 2020-2025. So I'll kind of just like go through this and then touch on some of the major things. So the AI content, June saw AI content meeting with the directors and combat AI team to keep pushing the development of the updated Combatant Wildline script. This new line set covers both FPS and dogfighting NPCs and provides much needed update to the enemy players that we've been fighting for years. I do agree. They kind of get predictable. Like, I wouldn't say 100% predictable because they do stuff now that the server FPS is a lot better. Like, they'll take cover, throw nades, yada yada yada. They'll actually pull maneuvers in the sky. But after if you play like a whole patch cycle, you kind of get used to like all of it. So, yeah, it'd be a nice little refresher. The team is currently looking into leveraging dynamic conversations while keeping the line set concise enough to potentially offer gang-specific voice packs. However, conversations and prototyping are required before capturing this content. Yeah, the actual interactive conversations going on, and the NPCs like straight up looking at you and saying like, and talking to you. I've been a great addition to Pyro. I don't know when it's coming to Stanton. I know Stanton is still running old and tech and all that stuff. So we'll just have to see. Outside of combat, the team updated civilian behaviors to utilize additional lines that haven't been used yet and to make them feel more reactive in more environments. Finally, AI tech supported the integration of mission providers into upcoming content. Yeah, I was honestly surprised that we haven't gotten more mission givers. Now I know we've got the addition of like Wicklow's flags being like an actual set location to take missions from, which is pretty interesting. Kind of MMO feely, which is really good. That's kind of the direction that we've been needing to move into. But yeah, no, that'll feel good. That'll feel good. And they got rid of a bunch of mission providers like a long time ago. I've been waiting to see, new ones come back, or I guess different ones come. So yeah, that'll be nice and refreshing. Can't wait for that. For AI features, last month AI features completed their task for the irradiated Valakkar, which made its debut in the PU. This was a culmination of months of hard work by cross-disciplinary teams, including AI features in tech, animation, gameplay, programming, art, VFX, audio design, and weapons. Honestly, it's really fun. If you get to play the whole loop, it's pretty fun. It's pretty immersive. A lot going on. It gets kind of hectic. So, the latter part of the month was focused on bug fixing, including edge cases where Valakkar didn't merge, despawned too soon, or failed to spit during its emerge animation. Luckily, it didn't have any of those problems. Improvements were also made to the juvenile and adult Valakkar, including changes to positioning to prevent overlap and the better handling of targets. This also informed a fix for Copian chasing targets that become unreachable. Interesting. The team then continued to develop upcoming features and details of which will be shared in the coming months. Major and minor bugs were fixed for human combat alongside additional behavior work. This included aiming improvements to consider what part of the enemy is visible, for example, aiming specifically at the head if the chest is obstructed. Support was also added for NPCs using advanced weapon types such as beam or weapons or lasers that can overheat. Honestly, the new pulse rifle, SMG, pistol, I've tried a little bit of the Volt pistol. They're all a lot of fun. They give a lot of feedback. They're very bassy, chuggy, like they sound very, 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 very well done. There's light year difference when you pick up like a Volt weapon, and when you pick up like the P4, unfortunately. But yeah, that's just old tech and new tech. Updates were made to NPC searching and looting ammo and weapons. The medical animation flow was polished to remove pops, and more control was given to the designers over friendly fire parameters. Fixes were made to perception, audio propagation, combat investigation, and grenades. For the latter, updates were made to the targeting cooldown timer and collision checks for grenades, while a fix was made to ensure that drop grenades always explode. Nice. AI using grenades is huge. They've been throwing nades, I'll say that. accurately, not so much. Um, but there's a couple of missions been doing recently in Pyro. I haven't done too many missions in Stan just because like the actual server frame rate in Stan has been significantly lower than Pyro. They're a lot more reactive in Pyro. Um, they'll throw accurate nades. Um, they'll actually lay down suppressing fire. They'll hit you. And yeah, they work very well. I'm in Pyro, so it'll be cool to see them actually getting a little more immersive. So essentially they just revamped combat and wildline script for both FPS and dogfighting NPCs. Um, they worked on dynamic gang specific voice packs. They enhanced NPC behaviors, aiming at visible body parts, looting, friendly fire, perception fixes, and new support for beam weapons and advanced gear coming to AI. So we'll probably see them using Volt and rifles, pistols, the whole nine here shortly. Okay. All right. AI Game Intelligence Development Team. The Game Intelligence Development Team started the month with meetings relating to StarScript, Mission System 2.0, exciting. The commentator model, the density profiler, entity scripting, mannequin, and the animation system. Progress was also made on the prototype for Mission System V2. Cannot wait for that. Implementation of the outline, header, and dashboard began. The visuals are evolving and adapting gradually to the limitations of Qt programming. As part of this, more icons were created to represent each mission component. Interesting. Additionally, the team continued to fix small bugs and work on some of the features requested by the game designers to improve StarScript. I've been hearing a lot about StarScript, and I'm just not 100% sure, what that is. So hopefully to hear more about that. I think that's like for the whole mission system, but I want to know more about that. So, realistically, just like major progress in 3D pathfinding using the new voxelizer approaching, improved navmesh for large creatures, the Valakkar and terrain traversal, which is pretty dope. New features as NPCs now respond to radar pings as combat triggers or disturbances. Optimization work, navmesh regeneration, zone linking, and exclusion volume handling are also being worked on. The mission system of E2 prototyping continues. I don't know when we're gonna get that. They haven't really talked. They do talk about it in passing, but they haven't done anything like in depth recently. So hopefully, we'll talk about that more. StarScript enhancements, multi-graph export, bug fixes, and designer requested features, which is nice. They're steaming along. Under the hood improvements aimed at making missions more dynamic and scalable, which will be dope. It kind of just feels stale. There's just always X amount of NPCs. It's never scalable. If I add, 2, 3, 4 people to my party, I think it should do that, especially in an open world sandbox game. If you have, it probably makes it feel a little more. Throughout June, the AI tech team provided bug fixing support for the Alpha 4.2 release, including optimizing how navigation metric generation accounts for navigation links. Since last year, the island calculation, a way to determine which areas are reachable from the perspective of an NPC, was split into chunks for use by the planetary navmesh. Related bugs were investigated that caused some NPCs to not be able to find path from an individual zone to planetary terrain. They also massively optimized the searching of navmesh around a point. AI tech converted the internal data structure that points, exclusion volumes, or cost modifiers into AABB tree to quickly access and exclude unnecessary elements from the queries. They then increased the radius used by NPCs to generate navmesh on planets to provide a better Valakkar fight experience. For example, each variant of the creature needs to be able to move large distances around the world, with the recent amendments providing improved generation granularity. A way to mark up brushes, geometries, and our entities was implemented to ensure they are unwalkable for NPCs. This was necessary to avoid the use of unnecessary navigation exclusion volumes when artists want to prevent NPCs from walking over specific objects. Ongoing work continued to update 3D pathfinding to use the new voxelizer approach. Alongside this, the team now has full support for quantum boosting energy usage to efficiently use speeds when flying in space. Hell yeah. For StarScript, the export as image functionality now supports exporting multiple graphs at the same time. Numerous other features progress that will eventually be used directly in Starscript 2. In other work, the ability for NPCs to react to radar pings was added. Now they will either consider a ping as a disturbance to investigate or an active event to eventually be used directly in Starscript 2. Now they would either consider a ping as a disturbance to investigate or an active event to bring them into combat. Finally, for AI tech, fixes for the NPCs driving vehicles were added. Nice. Which is a feature the team hoped to add to the PU at some point. Good stuff. That's what we need. We need them driving, all these ground vehicles, tanks. We need actual, scenarios. A lot of the times you just pull up and it's just, NPCs. I know that they're working on them using, these, those 50 cal turrets and stuff that you find around, and those laser turrets. I think that's coming with the next update or patch, or they're working on it. I'm not 100% sure. So art and animation update. Animation spent the month supporting the irradiated Valakkar alongside another new creature for later this year. Hell yeah, that's what's up. Hopefully it's the other Sand Apex Valakkar. I don't care if they bring out a whole new boss. There's no need, to be honest with you. I personally believe that they should get all of that out there, put it all on the table, get all of the Valakkars out, work on all of the bosses, make sure that it's super polished, super good. Once the Valakkar is, in an A+ state, then you can move on to new bosses. I think so. If they drop a new boss later this year and they have to work on 2 whole separate boss mechanics, it might, you might get into the whole, yeah, the whole data debt. It's just ridiculous. They also progress in animations for pre-combat and social area usables that will promote more stealth gameplay opportunities against NPCs. They also progress with animations for pre-combat and social area usables that will promote more stealth gameplay opportunities against NPCs. That sounds interesting. I don't really know what that is. But hopefully they're talking about pre-stims and stuff like that, but that actually last, almost like if you were in an MMO, eating a food or taking a stim or reading a scroll. Hopefully that's kind of what they're talking about. Now obviously not literally that, because we are in Star Citizen, but facial animation supported multiple releases throughout June. They began by finalizing the content required for Alpha 4.2.1, including new lines for Stowe's, Walton, and the additional NPCs in the defend location missions. They then worked alongside the narrative and mocap teams to capture new mission giver content for Alpha 4.3 and 4.3.1. The team are currently processing the recorded content as the release dates approach. That's awesome. Anytime you see them do mocap stuff and then they talk about PU, hopefully they're bringing in somebody with fresh new animations, like a mission giver or somebody important. But mocap means that they're actually using the studio, which is good. So hopefully we get to see that soon. So really, all of that was juice. Art ships in the UK. The Anvil Paladin continued through Greybox. That's really juicy, with additional artists being moved onto it as their other tasks were completed to help prepare for its July gate review. That's awesome. Love seeing that they're moving other people onto these tasks. That means things are getting done. And people are becoming free in other areas. Pre-production began on the Gatak Raylan, which will continue between other tasks ahead of the ship officially entering production later this year. Those alien ships are cool. I haven't really delved much into them, so not too hyped about the Raylan. Some of the team moved on to the Drake Ironclad, with some areas receiving layout alterations and traversal and lifestyle refinement to the modular Drake kit. That's what's up. Work progressed on 5 unannounced vehicles. 2 completed their white box phase and are now well into gray box, with focus on details around the hull. Another is in the final stages of production and is receiving the finishing touches and bug fixes ahead of its release. Another vehicle from a prominent manufacturer entered production and is currently approaching its white box review. A new variant also entered pre-production, which the team states may have the record for the fastest vehicle through the production pipeline. Interesting. it may be a pulse variant. If I had to guess, the record for fastest vehicle through production pipeline. Um, yeah, if I had to guess, because that was at the time that was the fastest, so it might just be another variation of the pulse. Um, if so, I wouldn't be mad. That'd be pretty cool. I don't know what variation they'd be doing. I know the one that we have now shoots. It has a Gatling laser on it. I would not be opposed to them doing some sort of like rocket pod on it. I don't really know. Who knows? The Pulse, I haven't really used too much since I bought it. It was more of a gimmick buy, more of a laugh. I'll probably use it a lot when we have a base, probably just to get to and from, you know, the smaller buildings or whatever we have in our base. We'll probably end up using that. But if they do drop one, I'll probably end up buying it. Speaking of that tech that they dropped for the Gatling laser, they didn't really capitalize on that. I thought they were gonna do new stuff. I mean, I guess they did use it with like the IGTs and stuff. Not really, but yeah, interesting. I completely almost forgot about that. The pulse repeater is different. In North America, the RSI Apollo, Medevac, and Triage reached the Lodo phase, with the devs ensuring the modular medical base swap out and behave as expected. That's what's up. I've been waiting for that Medevac, the Apollo, forever. Following the release of the Superior Prowler utility, the team tackled some bugs with fixes due to land and Alpha 4.2.1. The RSI Perseus approaches gray box gate review. Love that. Love that. We need a big old gunboat. As such, a lot of work is done to prepare anything that animates, such as torpedo launchers for the downstream teams. Love that. Love that. Love that. Love that. Lastly, for ships, the Drake Kraken entered pre-production with the team identifying areas from the original concept that need further attention to bring modern standards. Full production will begin later this year. Yeah, they probably had to modernize, you know, how, like, where we run and all that stuff. New guns, turrets, probably the sizes for ships. But that's cool. They need the ironclad to move along. Kraken lovers need the ironclad to move on really quickly, because they'll do the ironclad and then they'll use a bunch of those assets from the ironclad in the Kraken. So yeah, that'll be really juicy. So that's cool. So really, for art and animation updates and ships, Anvil Paladin, Drake Ironclad, and RSI Apollo advancing through the pipeline. The Drake Kraken enters pre-production. 5 unannounced ships in various production phases. Facial animation and mocap. New content recorded for Alpha 4.3 and 4.3.1, and they expanded social area animations to support stealth gameplay. That is juicy. We can skip over the community stuff. You know, they do bar citizen. That's super awesome. Love that. Hopefully they, you know, continue to always do that. Monroe Squad. Core gameplay with the new Stormbreaker content. The core gameplay teams added several updates to radiation, hazard areas, and damage over time handling. The new IFCS logic was also added for storm clouds. Most of the teams contributed to the Apex Valakkar encounter, including its appearance and how it interacts with the players. The teams are also involved in the new Argo Atlas, including enabling freight elevators to support the various power suit variants. The recently added points of interest uncovered several unexpected issues during internal playtesting. Though the teams worked hard to resolve them for release. One major challenge was managing the new location's population and corpse control without causing a significant impact on performance. Several freight elevator fixes were made across multiple missions, while improvements and bug fixes were made for radiation. Yeah, I will say, sometimes when they drop things, they're not as optimized as they could be. They're a little framey. And everything of Pyro has been super smooth. It's felt optimized. Even if they say it isn't, it's felt okay. Now, I haven't played much of the PTU this year, so I don't know how much, you know, of that actually gets bug worked and phased out before it comes to live. But for the most part, live has felt significantly better than it has in those past years. I mean, like, some of these years have been unplayable. We can't even log in. So the fact that I've been able to do multiple 5 to 8, 10-hour play sessions and, you know, not lose my hair. It's been nice. So really, for core gameplay, Stormbreaker content brought radiation hazard damage over time, and Stormcloud logic. That's awesome. I will say the IFCS logic was awesome. They enabled turbulence, and it was overtuned. A lot of people complained. It was just kind of unpleasant to fly in, to like kind of hover in hangars and just hover in general. So they removed it. They're reworking it. It'll be very nice and kind of give a little bit more immersion when that comes back in. So yeah, hopefully they do get that done. That'll be nice. Freight elevators now support power suit variants, which is awesome. Population control and course persistence improved to optimize performance. The freight elevators need a huge overhaul. We're supposed to be able to pull out all of our ground vehicles like out of those elevators. I don't know what's been taking them so long. They said something about the tech. They're having to rework some things. Hopefully they can get that done before the end of this year. That'd be really nice to test. So, and for mission design, last month mission design worked to close out the Stormbreaker sandbox activity for release. For the upcoming Alpha 4.2.1 patch, they expanded the Infiltrate and Defend suite to only use Foxwell as the mission giver and expanded its location pool. They also fixed the Recover Cargo archetype and created an FPS version. Cool. I haven't really messed with that. Foxwell being a mission giver sounds really cool. I'll have to check that out. Elsewhere, the team are looking to expand the ship battles mission suite with a new escort-based archetype. This players will either escort a ship to a hangar or from a hangar to a safe range where it can quantum jump. That's cool. Like these ambush missions that they added in Pyro are pretty cool. I will say that. Work then continued on content for upcoming patches, including moving generic contracts over to guilds and factions, which is needed for Reputation V2. Awesome. When they talk about V2 stuff, love it. Cannot wait for all this stuff. Reputation V2 needs to come in. Bounty hunting V2 needs to come in. They need to remove this god marker and all this stuff. So yeah, keep steaming along. Finally, for mission design, the devs are investigating an issue with mission generation where it appears that there are not enough contracts for everyone, which is likely caused by server meshing. Interesting. Okay, so for mission design expansion, infiltrate and defend missions now exclusive to Foxwell with a wider location pool. Sick. New FPS-based recover cargo missions, in development, escort-style battle missions, and more faction-based contract systems for Reputation V2 are in development. That is juicy. All right, narrative. Following Alpha 4.2's release, the narrative team focused on the next two upcoming patches, which will feature a variety of new missions. Love that. We love content. This included creating new contracts, mission provider dialogue, and environmental story detail for a narrative-rich gameplay location. The team held a performance capture session to record mission dialogue and numerous audio logs to be discovered by players. Additionally, the team supported the mission designers in adding several new combat contracts along with the refactor of several old missions. That's cool that they redid some of the audio logs, because the audio logs used to be discoverable all around the world and they would tell stories. Like Skyrim stories, in a sense of like you'd come across like broken down ships and destroyed things, and you'd find audio logs and they would be breadcrumbs, and at the end you'd find a skeleton or whatever it was. This guy was dead, or these people ended up making it out, or whatever it was. It was cool. It wasn't a mission or anything, so there was no reward. It was more of like actual general like exploration. But yeah, they removed that stuff some time ago. I'm surprised that they haven't brought something different back sooner. So longer term narrative have been solidifying the next major story arc as the mission content comes more into focus. The team are striving to ensure that the stories the players will experience align closely with the gameplay objectives. Part of this new story will introduce a unique hostile faction. Okay. Part of this new story will introduce a unique hostile faction. Okay, so a new faction is coming, or just a different variant? I don't know. In support of Alien Week, narrative released a handful of new and expanded Galactopedia articles that focus on the strange fauna and life forms found in the PU. That's cool. As far as like all these gameplay objectives and the team striving to ensure that the story the players will experience, I had a conversation about this with somebody the other day. Somebody asked, like, well, what happened to, like, all of these, like, global events that they're doing and testing, like, the Align in Mind and this and that and this and that? They're being tested, and they're not, like, somebody was like, well, they'll just go away. Well, they're not going away. I think that they're being tested right now because they're going to be used like on a larger scale. For example, like they need to be polished, tested, and figured out if like those missions actually can work, not fully 100% through, but the whole idea of those systems working, because those can technically be a bunch of breadcrumb missions in the future. Like the Siege of Orison can be a dynamic mission that spawns from somebody doing like a mission line. They do 10 missions, and at the very end of that mission line, just happens to kick off the Siege of Orison. And now everybody on that server or shard or whatever has to take part and protect Orison. Same with the Line of Mine. Some dude goes down the rabbit hole of doing mining missions, and all of a sudden, he makes a choice that kicks off a line in mine, and we get invaded, and yada yada yada. That's what I think they're doing. That's what I hope they're doing. It's CIG, so we don't really know. But yeah, so that'll be cool. That'll be cool to see. The narrative and world building, creating content for the new mission givers, audio logs, and story rich locations. Next major story arc is underway, featuring a new hostile faction. That'll be cool to see. Expanded the Galactopedia entries for Alien Week, highlighting new fauna and lore. Just interesting stuff. I can't wait for the Galactopedia to be that'll be awesome. And for online tech, the online services team continued to work on the item imprint system. Design aspects are being discussed. Technical documentation is being written, and service development began. The team also began preliminary discussions for the upcoming instancing service in collaboration with other teams that are currently defining the objectives and high-level technical details that estimate and plan the work properly. Furthermore, the team discussed inventory ID enforcement on the inventory API. The idea of this project is to ensure that the inventory API only accepts calls that affect a specific inventory ID. This would set up the foundation for the upcoming entity graph global database sharding. The team also worked on various improvements and bug fixes to provide better experience for players. The live tools team reworked the filtering and sorting functionality of the moderation tool, significantly enhancing the overall user experience. They also addressed technical debt and introduced quality of life improvements. Nice tech debt, let's go. Such as quick access to various tools linked directly to game instances. In parallel, testing began for the new MTL development infrastructure, which offloads computational load from individual developer machines, making day-to-day work smoother and more efficient. Additionally, improvements continued for the crash handler, making it more reliable and less prone to errors. The network team focused on bug fixing and stability updates. Steady progress is currently being made toward dynamic server meshing, which is also crucial for the successful implementation of instancing. Fuck yeah. So it looks like we need that for instancing. So that'll be coming a lot sooner. Because instancing is awesome. Well, the instancing that they're about to use it for is going to be Care Bear. The instancing that I want them to use it for would be awesome. So hopefully they can, get a move on things. Yeah. So the work continued on item imprint system, instancing service, inventory ID enforcement, improvements to live tools and crash handler for devs and player experiences, and the foundation for dynamic server meshing is being laid. So, yeah, hopefully we can start to see some of that. For R&D, gas cloud rendering was further refined based on the improvements implemented in March to get additional detail and improved distance red support for an extra erosion layer was added. Controls were also added to boost intermediate cloud density during the shaping and erosion process to prevent clouds from thinning out too much. Nice. Okay, so clouds are going to look a lot better coming soon. I like that you can't turn them off. The goal is to preserve the overall shape of the original VDV as much as possible, with details added at the cloud interface. The previous density blending step was replaced by a new merging step that combines shape and original VDB density. This fixes visual artifacts caused by the blending step and helps to preserve details. Lastly, Edge albedo control was made aware of the cloud's density environment to limit darkening to shaped regions without the presence of density coming from the original VDB. All improvements were made available to both the PU and the Squadron 42. Elsewhere, the performance of planet cloud rendering for cameras in orbit was increased. Also, night sky rendering was improved. Previously, it incorrectly included biscattering with regards to fully occluded sun and produced undesired fake halos, especially when looking at the night sky from orbit. This is now fixed. Nice, okay. Furthermore, help was provided to fix the reflection of atmosphere content on water surfaces that was too dark under some conditions. Okay, so they're improving some of that water in the cloud. The visual effects and gas cloud rendering looks like the irradiated Valakkar got custom irradiated VFX. The weather event and event effects upgraded to feel more intense. It definitely does. I'll say that much. It definitely does. Gas cloud rendering now features extra erosion layers, density emerging, and better edge lighting. And the night sky and water reflection significantly improved. So yeah, the VFX code and our teams worked on several things for Alpha 4.2. For example, the irradiated Valakkar received bespoke animation, new irradiated VFX, while the weather VFX was refined and increased to make the event more tense. The Argo Atlas XT also received new impact and surface effects. That's awesome. Yeah, so it looks like they're chugging along. We love to see that. We've also got this roadmap roundup that they dropped. It looks like notable changes, two new additional hairstyles, global event tracking service, implementing a new system allowing our systems to track players' progression across multiple shards. This system will first be used in conjunction with our new global event coming in Alpha 4.2.1. It can be found in the Moby-Glass Journal Second Life Resource Drive. Okay. Missions collection, improving Wicklow's Emporium missions, allowing players to specifically focus on the ships and gear they want to unlock. Yeah, the whole RNG thing was like a killer. So I'm glad they went ahead and got that done. That's huge. Medium utility armor strata, corporation liveries. Adding a new medium utility armor strata, corporation liveries is nice. Okay, so that's all the corporation stuff. And then we got 4.3 cards. Now sometimes these do change, but cooperative zones, Care Bear zones, not an event, not a sandbox like contested zones, but the opposite, where investigation, puzzle solving, and cooperation with players around you will make completing objectives easier. Yeah, so I essentially just look at this as like Guild Wars 2 zones. They're more of like jump puzzles, move boxes to this, open up that door, do that, do this, get there, get there. Yeah, so abandoned underground facilities located on every moon of the sand system. These enormous multi-level structures are used for the new cooperative zones coming in Alpha 4.3. Okay, so abandoned underground facilities. I'm pretty sure underground facilities were supposed to be like this 5-level subterranean whole mission thing that was supposed to have a ton of content and raids and instances and this and that. And yeah, I don't really know what happened to that. Lol. The Volt Laser Sniper Zenith, implementing the latest in the Volt series of weapons. That's awesome because the Volt weapons are super satisfying to use. So, now wait to test the sniper. Sniper Light Armor Geist, adding a new Sniper Light Armor Geist, specialized in stealth gameplay with high mobility. Okay. Medium Utility Armor Ambrose, adding a new Medium Utility Armor Ambrose, coming in 4.3.x. New hairstyles, adding new additional hairstyles. Okay, so yeah, they're just always gonna be able to do new hairstyles and stuff. That's just easy to do. Ladder improvements, improving the reliability and use of ladders. Nice. I've been utilizing some ladders in Pyro because you have to climb like towers and stuff. Oh my god, they are horrific. AI FPS turrets. Nice. We were just reading about some of this stuff in the monthly report. Adding anti-personnel turrets for players to avoid or destroy, providing additional PvE challenges. Yeah, hopefully they hop on these 50 cals and stuff. I want to see them start shooting my ship as I'm coming in. Like, I need to feel... Like, I feel only afraid of them on the ground, FPSing. And I don't even really feel that afraid. Like, I know I'm going to win the aim fight. It's just... I need to feel that pucker of like, oh my god, I can't land here. Like, okay, I do need this... I do need my bike. I do need this ground vehicle, my PTV, my tumbril. That would be nice. So, yeah, mission pickup on location. That's awesome. Enabling new missions to be discovered and added to journals when you approach or enter a designated area. That's sick. They started to do that with Wickelow's flags. When you're there looking at, like, what to turn in, you can actually take that mission looking at that item. This is going to be sick because this is like you pull up to a lost outpost on Pyro and boom, a new mission pops up. So that's cool. Wicklow special ships, adding the following special ships to Wicklow's Emporium: the Mist Starlancer Attack, the Golem, Amble Terpomedic, with upgraded components. These ships can be unlocked by bringing the NPC Wicklow number of favorites. Nice. Okay, so they're giving him a couple more ships. Yeah, that's just interesting stuff. But that's pretty much it for the Star Citizen monthly report of July, and we've also got a little bit of roadmap roundup. So appreciate y'all tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe. And we hope you guys have a beautiful rest of the or day.